Public comments concerning agenda items. We do have several people in attendance, and we have one, Mr. John Allred. He would like to speak about 2A, so we will be there here in just a short minute. I first would like to get a motion for the approval of the amended agenda presented. So I'd like to at least start with that.
Mr. President.
Go ahead.
Oh, come on. Go ahead, Tim. No, go. Mr. President, I move to accept the amended agenda that is at our seats tonight.
Second.
Okay. I'll start discussion on that. We'd like to pull 6E to the front. That has to do with Integrity Network Solutions. Brandon, we'd like to have him speak about that. Brandon, not yet. We will get there in a second. But we will move that one up here to the front. He has a obligation here once, so we're going to try to get that out of the way ahead of time. So that I would like to pull that to the front as well. Is there anything else that anybody would like to amend? Okay. All in favor of the approval of the amended agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Okay, I'd like to get a motion for the approval of the minutes for the October 9th, 2023 regular meeting, the October 9th, 2023 bond hearing, the November 6th, 2023 public hearing, and the November 6th, 2023 executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. At this point, John, you're welcome to come to the podium. State your name and address, please.
Good evening. I'm John Allred, 125 West North Street in Delphi. And I know you're thinking, why is he asking to comment on the approval of the minutes for last month's board meeting? Well, I'll tell you why, because I'd like for you to carefully scrutinize the minutes to make sure that they accurately reflect whatever it is you did. Now, the public is actually operating from a position of ignorance because the agenda from last month was very thin and didn't actually say who you were voting on to employ or who would resign. So all what was said in the meeting is all I actually know. And in the agenda, or in that meeting, there were no questions asked about soccer coach. But Mr. Smith, in the board remarks at the end, congratulated Mr. Red Elk on being the new soccer coach and said he was happy to have him aboard, which to me implied that we'd hired a soccer coach for the fall. No one stood up to correct Mr. Smith, no administrator, no the board. Kind of that indicates that's what you all thought you were doing. So I've been before you talking about middle school soccer before. I took that as my cue to reach out to Coach Red Elk to see, what we need to do to get middle school soccer. I've got two boys who are going to be playing high school. I think numbers are going to be thin. What can we do because we've had bad recruiting? So I printed them on Facebook, but reaching out to him, my stepfather got there first, texted with him, and lo and behold, he's not been hired as the new soccer coach. What you all were doing was paying him from last season when he was the girls assistant coach after Coach Hudson left. It's pretty clear to me what Mr. Smith thought he was doing. I don't know what you all thought you were doing. But the minutes are a record of what happened in the meeting, and I think they should be accurate. And I think if the board packet isn't sufficiently clear to say what it is you're being asked to approve, that's a problem, and you need to take some kind of steps to make sure that it doesn't happen in the future. Thanks.
Right. Thank you. At this time, is there any board comments on the approval of minutes?
I do want to comment on that as well. In looking at the current minutes, I don't believe we have any record of hiring, terminations, any of that information being captured in the minutes. Obviously, we're doing that in the meeting, and I wonder if it should not ought to be captured that way. Certainly to memorialize who and what we did. So with that, I would like that information to be added to this last meeting's
Minutes.
Minutes, thank you.
Okay, so we'll get that updated and make sure that's posted correctly, so that way it's on there.
I make a motion that we wait to approve those minutes until we have that next meeting.
Which, the October 9th regular meeting, Steve.
That is the,
So,
Yeah, that's the one
because
I'm
there's
looking at.
4 of them here, I want to make sure.
So we can pull the 2A. We can get an amended motion.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the October 9th, 2023 meeting, the November 6th, 2023 meeting, and the November 6th, 2023 executive session.
I think
Yeah,
You want the
October 9th should be
board-
the bond hearing.
Bond hearing.
you want the bond
for
hearing.
October
the-
9th.
Yeah, the regular meeting, we're tabled. Can we get a second on the October 9th bond hearing, November 6th public hearing, and the November 6th executive session?
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion on those?
Do we need to make a motion to table the minutes on the October 9th or just?
Yes, yes, we do. We can do that here in just a second. Okay,
So right now before you is the amended motion to approve B, C, and D, correct?
correct. Okay. Correct. All in favor of approving the minutes for 2B, C, and D as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Now can I get a motion to table the October 9th 2023 regular meeting until next meeting, until we get clarification of the minutes?
So moved.
second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of tabling the October 9th, 2023 regular meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, moving forward, we're gonna do number 3 here, which is reports. Mrs. Circle, you're up first with the superintendent's report.
Yes, fairly short today, believe it or not. I want to thank everybody who was involved with the Veterans Day program. We had it last Friday. Mr. Sims, Mr. Connor helped organize it. Our new guidance secretary, our new guidance counselor at the high school actually spoke, Jessica Main. She did a great job. She's the closing. As always, the elementary choir was amazing and very impressive when they do the Pledge of Allegiance. And then so all 3 buildings were involved. It was a nice fair. And then Jay Dennison and his wonderful band did a wonderful job. Mr. Sims ended up being very sick, and so Mr. Long took over, and Mr. Dennison also helped with him. So it was a wonderful ceremony. Additionally, as we just ratified the teacher contract, I want to talk about all of our classified pay. We talked during our bargaining meeting briefly that we wanted to make sure that we also help out our classified staff. So we are looking at, on the December board agenda, I'm going to put forward for pay raises for all of our classified staff that are hourly. I'm looking at adding $1 to everyone's hourly rate. That would then begin in January. That is about $128,000 of an impact. So, again, I'll put that forward in December. And then that's all I have. Any questions on any of those items?
Okay. And then also you were provided administrator reports. Did anybody have any questions for any administrators that are here? Okay. So I'm going to do that skip forward here. I'd like to get a motion for 6E. This is under the new business section. 6E is for Integrity Network Solutions Incorporated with a price tag of $33,480. Can I get a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Short, can you come up here and answer some questions and give us some information?
Would you like me to just start?
Yeah, go ahead and just kind of fill us in here.
First, I want to say thank you for letting me kind of skip the line a little bit. I appreciate it. But to talk about this, the Integrity Network Solutions is the company we're purchasing the software through. They're a reseller. It's the only way to get some software. You just have to go through a reseller. And they're someone we've worked with a lot. But the software is called LineWise. There's kind of a two parts to this. It's LineWise and ClassWise. We currently have Lightspeed, which is our web filter, that we are required by law to have a web filter to kind of moderate what the students have access to on the internet. We also have GoGuardian. These are two separate contracts that we're paying currently. The teachers, as you guys I think heard, I believe it was my first board meeting, all the teachers love it generally, all the ones that do use it at least, which I believe is most of them. The only issue is the prices of both of those have been increasing dramatically, and they don't really work well with each other at all. And kind of across the state, a lot of people had Lightspeed several years ago, and what we're finding is a lot of people are moving away from that, just issues with it, it's not working like it used to kind of thing. They changed kind of how they use the software. But over the last couple of years, each of those has increased $1,000. So that price is increasing very dramatically. Last year, or for this current year, we paid about $21,000 for both. So if we kind of keep that price increase that we've had of $1,000, so $2,000 total between the two, we're looking at about $75,000 over the next 3 years, which is a lot of money to just kind of filter the network. With this one, we are looking at about $33,500 for the same kind of service, and because both things are offered by the same company, they do actually work really well together. And that's not just me guessing. Carroll has LineWise, and several other schools in this area have it. Integrity Network Solutions used to be a big pusher of Lightspeed, and this year they actually decided as a company they're going to step away and not do that anymore. And LineWise is going to become kind of their best. They kind of brought everybody together and said, what's the best thing we can find right now, because Lightspeed's just not cutting it. So the price is less than half of what we would be paying. But on top of that, because we're looking to do a 3-year contract paid in full up front, they also offered us a free 6 months as well. One of my main complaints was that we were renewing it in March and May, which felt like a really weird time to renew a contract in March. So if we ever did decide to make a change, we're doing that about a month and a half before school ends. So I talked with them, and they were able to kind of push in a free 6 months that would start essentially after this gets approved, so that our contract would begin basically right at the end of the school year. So if we ever did decide to change in the future, we could at least write it out through the end of the school year, and then we would have the summer to kind of take the time to make any switch if we ever decided to do that. Yeah, some of the things I guess that they do really well together, one of them is actually giving the teachers the ability to unblock certain websites, as long as we also allow that. There's kind of 2 levels to it. We can just block things and let the teachers unblock them, which would be a lot better for them, a lot better for us. It saves everybody a lot of time, and it gives them a little bit more control of their classroom as well. Instead of trying to pull something up, it works on their computer, but it doesn't work for the students, and then they're in a panic trying to figure out what to do last minute. So this lets them do that, but then there are also some things that we just don't want to unblock no matter what, and we can kind of lock those down so that they can't be unblocked. So it'll just give everybody a little bit, it's just easier to work with, I guess is the best way to put it. But of course, half the price is also really nice too. Any questions?
So I got a couple, just clarify.
Mm-hmm.
Roughly 33,000 or a little over that
Yeah.
for the full 3 years. This is a
Mhm.
3-year contract, and it's all upfront money.
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
so we won't pay anything until, let's see, it would be, I believe it's 2027. The summer of 2027 is when the next renewal would be. Because of the free 6 months, that would push us into the summer of 24, and then 3 years beyond that.
Okay. So it's 3 years, 6 months.
Yeah, so 42 months
Yeah.
total. Yeah.
Did you happen to say where you think that price is going after the 3 years? I mean, I know things will probably go up, but
No, I don't know that they even really would know what that price would be. In talking to Carol, their prices stayed relatively similar. It hasn't been as, you know, a 10 to 15% increase like the Lightspeed and GoGuardian have been. So, yeah.
any other questions for Mr. Short? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with no further questions, we'll go ahead and take a vote on 6E for Integrity Network Solutions. It would be for a software called LineWise, a 3-year deal for $33,480 total, actually 3 years and 6 months free. All in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Okay, moving forward, we'll go backwards to number 4, routine matters. We have several routine matters here. I'd like to get a motion for routine matters 4A, which is monthly and payroll claims in the amount of $1,468,005.58. Also, the approval of the monthly financial reports as submitted by the treasurer. 4B is the employment of certified staff. 4C is the employment of classified staff. 4D, we have resignations, terminations, and retirements. And then 4E, we have fundraisers, facility usage requests, overnight and out-of-state trips. So I'd like to get a motion for 4A through E as presented.
Mr. President, I would like to have 4B1 voted on separately, if we could, please.
Okay, so I will revise that. I'd like to get a motion for 4A through E, excluding B1. We will vote on that separately.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion? I know there's several things there. Any discussion on any of the items presented? Okay. All in favor of 4A through E, excluding B1 as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Motion carries. All right, moving forward, 4B, item 1. Can I get a motion to discuss item 1 of the principal DCES?
Mr. President, I move for B1, the renewal contract of Mr. Hawk for the school year 2023 through 2025, as stated.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on 4B1? Okay. All in favor of the contract renewal of the DCES, Mr. Hawk Principal, as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Allison Murphy's here if you want to introduce her. She can take over.
Okay, before moving forward, it was on the amended agenda. We have Allison Murphy from the DCES 5th grade. She will be taking over for the year. We just want to welcome her.
Thank you.
So, then there are several classified staffs that were approved in there as well. We have Kaylee Camp from the DCHS cafeteria. Sandra Johns is an instructional aide. Dora Willis will be the DCMS cafeteria cook. Patrick Ireland will be DCES 12-month night custodian. Troy Hauser is a transfer from the DCES custodian to the DCHS custodian. Also, Kimber Allen, we're adding a day to her work for the Certified Occupational Therapy Assistant. And also Caleb Bolin, DCES 12-month day custodian. So we want to welcome everybody on board for that matter. All right, moving forward back to item number 6, which is new business. I need to get a motion. We're going to discuss the Neola policies first. So I'd like to get a motion for 6A, the Neola policy updates 1 through 14.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Mrs. Circle, discussion. Give us the excitement.
I know. We were gonna have a break in December from Neola, so there you go. Okay, very quickly, a lot of these are grammatical changes where we go from will to shall. So there's several of these that was the only thing. I did send all the Neola policies to you earlier so you could glean them. So if you have specific questions, just please let me know. Number 1 is the staff-student relations. There was 4 of those. I guess I missed one because we approved 3 of them. So I missed the 4th one because they're not in order. And so this one is the exact same as all the others. This one goes for all corporate employees and students. Remember, we had the principals, we had the teachers, we had the classified staff. So I didn't see this at the bottom of the stack.
I have
The
a
next-
question for Nick
yes.
on that. Nick, what's the difference? Why can't we mark out the word will and insert the word shall, or they mark it out, or must sometimes, they look that up?
Shall is what you see in the statutes when it's mandatory, right? So I think it's just to be consistent with state statute on that. So, because I would say will and shall have the same legal meaning, but shall, I mean, I think it gets beat into you in law school. It's a mandatory action. Yep,
And they did the same thing with the word must all the way through.
correct. Yep. It's not a maybe or could be. It's you'll do it if this happens. Yeah.
The next one is the anti-harassment, and in this part of it, again, we went from will to shall throughout it. I also had to name our Title IX coordinator, which is Mr. Hawk. And then if Mr. Hawk is busy, then Ms. Stansberry is going to come there as well. So congratulations to both of those for their roles. Mr. Hawk's already done a really good job of finally getting our Title IX updated, training done. So we are compliant with Title IX. Other than that, it's all the wills and shalls. The next one's bullying, and literally the entire thing was the should to shall or will to shall. So, and then they added in that this aligns with policy 2266. The search and seizure is an interesting one. It actually added, well, it had the will to shalls, but it also added vapes and other prohibited devices. So it's adding in the whole issue that everyone's having with vapes. So that you're allowed to search and seize. Then student fees and changes, we're here again with the new laws about we can't charge fees, but we can charge for delinquent fees, or excuse me, if something's broken or if someone loses something, then you can charge. And then if that's delinquent, it goes through, we had to select how we handle it, and so we go through collections with that. So that was the language. We have edited this, I think, 3 times now. Requirement for ADM counts for the purpose of state funding. This was very heavy on the will and shall again. And then we had to identify what are going to be the documentations, because when you register your child, you do have to prove that you live in district. We have already approved those, but I had to redo them again. So they need a utility bill, a mortgage statement, or a current rental or lease agreement. And we do take all those and we scan them, and we have all those online in our system. The travel payment and reimbursement / relocation costs. They added a clause in here as to whether you would pay for someone to relocate. I selected not to. So that was the big thing on this. If you hire somebody that's out of state and you want to pay the relocation cost, I didn't think that would go fiscally very well. So there's that.
Ms. Circle, real
Yes.
quick on that. On the travel part and reimbursement, not the relocation part, that's self-explanatory. Prior to travel, are they required to get permissions from their supervisor?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a form and everything, we do that
Yeah,
with,
yeah,
right?
we do all that,
Okay.
yeah. Fair Labor Standards Act, we define the work week as Sunday from midnight, Saturday 11:15, 9 p.m. And then everything else was the will and shall. The Facility Security Program, this one, they must have had a legislative change because they counted things as, you know, such as criminal trespass used to be a Class D, it's now a level 6 felony. So that was the language, they changed things from Class D to level 6.
That changed under state law about a decade ago, so I'm glad Neola's catching up. Catching up to that.
Well, remember, we might be a tad behind,
Yeah,
but we're getting there, we're getting there. Okay, the web accessibility, content, apps, and services. This one had all the wills and shalls, but a lot of this content dealt with, now, if students are creating webs and apps, I selected that they must be supervised by the classroom teacher. So in other words, if this is part of a project, then it needs to be that. They need to be housed on our server rather than doing stuff off on other servers. Another piece of this one that was interesting was a huge part that teachers should be using our on the server web-based programs, and that they should not be having kids go to their social media page to get homework information or any of that stuff, or their grades go to another place other than our grade software. So that was a part of this, which I wouldn't even think about, but I guess it's happened, so that's why it's in the Neola policies. They also talked about in order for student schools work, if it's created within that classroom, to be displayed on the corporation's website, the student who's 18 years old or the student's parent of a student 17 years or younger shall provide written permission. So if we're posting something like their work on there, we need to do that. And then, that was all the goodies on here. The technology director is the one who pre-approves apps. And again, any content or information and creation has to be approved.
So all their work will be done on our school computers / server, right?
Yeah.
So they can't bring their own iPads in or any, that's,
Well, they can connect to the,
well, but what I'm saying is they have to be connected, right? Because some of them, they can get on their own because they've got their own lines, and some of them do that. So that's up to, that's gonna fall on the responsibility of the classroom supervisor, right? To make sure.
which in our computer classes that we have, they have their own computers that they get on
Right.
themselves, and they have, it's linked into the server, so,
But this one goes for the whole school though,
yeah.
not just a web class.
I'm surprised that, well, I should ask Mr. Sims, but I haven't seen many students using their own device.
Well, I know that
Cell
now they
phone, but.
lock them up,
yeah.
but
Okay, public records, this talks about what you're allowed to destroy, you know, that you should go through the following chain of command, which we do. I am lucky to be sitting on that committee that goes up there and approves what can be destroyed. The wills and shalls, once again, and I did not, that was it. Literally, I added the word Carroll County. Then there was a lovely one about head lice. And there's a lot of language change, but pretty much the language change is talking about the fact that the difference with the live bugs or nits, and that nits, that a child can come to school with the nits. The live lice has to be dealt with. So they went through a whole policy change on that. It was a nice long policy. Okay, then there was one about communication, and literally they crossed out the entire thing, and there's one sentence. To that end, the superintendent shall implement communication strategies that provide for effective communication with all stakeholders. That was it. Use of medication. Last one. A lot of wills to shalls, what meds we can administer, and making sure that we have annual training, especially with the EpiPens, the Narcan. We do keep albuterol on campus. So basically it went through that, all the different things that we keep on campus and the training that's required, which we did do the training this year at the end of the year. Okay, any questions on those wonderful 14 policies?
All right.
I would comment, I was just talking to a former superintendent who's now a Neola representative, but you guys are the schools are probably one of the most heavily regulated entities there is between the federal legislators, state legislators, and then your federal and state departments of education. This is a lot to keep up with, and it's probably annoying paying Neola, but there's no other way. There's not another option to stay on top of these changes.
We love them.
Okay, well, with all that explanation, is there any other questions or input on the Neola policy 6A 1 through 14 as presented? Okay, all in favor of 6A Neola policy updates 1 through 14, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, 6B, I'd like to get a motion, the old SRO card donation to the Indian Trails Cooperative.
So moved.
Second.
All right, pretty self-explanatory. Any questions on that one? Okay. All in favor of the old SRO card donation to Indian Trails Cooperative, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, 6C, I'd like to get a motion for the corporation calendar approval for the 2024 through 2025 school year.
So moved. Second.
Any questions or discussions on the 2024 to 2025 school calendar? Okay. All in favor of 6C, the corporation's calendar approval for the 2024 to 2025 school year,